I wanted to be as strong and as fast and as smart as Batman.
The common line with Batman fans is that if he's given enough prep time, he could defeat everyone from Superman to Goku.
What are your superpowers again? I'm rich.
Does he truly live up to that, though? I mean, here's the scene where the Joker punks Batman with a pan of shrimp. He could beat Goku. Well, let's go through some of Batman's smartest moments to see if he lives up to the hype once and for all.
Where are you?
Here. The Bruce Wayne from Batman v Superman is not usually credited with being one of the smarter Dark Knights. The way he was played by Lex Luthor like a fiddle doesn't do Batfleck any favors. He definitely gets the short end of the stick though, because he's probably the most clever Batman we've seen on the big screen so far. Think about it. This version of Batman went up against Superman and won. He was then able to turn kryptonite into a gas that caused Superman to drop like 300 power levels into something almost human. Then he used his souped-up armor from The Dark Knight Returns to beat him to a pulp. If it weren't for Lois Lane, he would have skewered Superman with a homemade kryptonite spear. So, he might have been played by Luthor, but he was able to design like 10 Superman-slaying devices. We don't see a Lucius Fox in the Snyderverse. When you talk about Batman's intelligence with a Bat fan, they will probably reference Tower of Babel. The JLA story by Mark Waid featured the revelation that Batman keeps detailed files on other superheroes, including strategies on how to defeat them if they ever cross the line.
You've thought of everything. No. Just everything you'll ever think of.
Ra's al Ghul gets access to these files, and they are truly terrifying. Martian Manhunter is infested with nanites that make his skin light on fire. Aquaman is made to be afraid of water with Scarecrow's fear toxin. The Flash is made to have seizures every time he runs at super speed. Green Lantern is blinded by his own ring. And Diana gets trapped in virtual reality. The most disturbing one of the bunch may be what happens to Superman, who has his skin turned transparent by red kryptonite. It also overloads his senses and leaves him in a state of utter agony. So, when people talk about prep time, they're talking about this. Don't mess with Batman. He does not play. The Dark Knight still stands as the best Batman film and one of the greatest superhero films of all time. Unfortunately, Heath Ledger's Joker gets most of the credit for that. And don't get me wrong, the Joker definitely steals every scene he's in.
Very poor choice of words.
But this is one of the slickest portrayals of Batman we've seen so far. I mean, in the movie's first half, he flies to Hong Kong to snatch a criminal right out of his own building and into a plane. Most notably, though, Bruce comes up with a terrifyingly brilliant little piece of tech. He takes Lucius Fox's sonar tech and creates a giant sonar web using every cell phone in Gotham City. This allows him to map every city block and pinpoint Joker's exact location through his voice. It's classic Batman. Brilliant plus paranoid plus terrifying. To be fair, every Wayne Tech phone has you agree to this on the terms and conditions page. Always read the terms and conditions, especially in Gotham City. Batman v Superman has the two greatest DC characters meet for the first time.
Tell me, do you bleed?
And then beat each other up. This made for great spectacle, but you have to admit that it would have been great to see them talk to each other a little more. The animated feature The World's Finest showed just how great a pair Batman and Superman could be even when they're not getting along. Superman was able to deduce Batman's identity by seeing right through his cowl. Batman, however, places a tracker on Superman that he doesn't find until he's made it back to Clark Kent's apartment. This scene ends with a cheeky moment where Batman smiles at him from miles away, fully aware that he can be seen with Superman's supervision. I mean, you'd think that the world's greatest detective wouldn't be fooled by Clark Kent's glasses, but whatever. Everyone loves to see Batman prove how he measures up to the rest of the Justice League. The fact that he doesn't have any powers makes it twice as entertaining to see him take on the most powerful characters in DC Comics. Sometimes, writers take this idea a little too far, though. Tom King is definitely one of the writers guilty of this. There's one infamous sequence where Batman and Catwoman take down the entire Justice League once Poison Ivy takes them over. Batman defeats Superman with a specialized whistle he's been working on. He also has a special substance in his belt that manages to ensnare Aquaman with little to no effort. The worst of the bunch is when Catwoman defeats all 3 versions of the Flash in mere seconds. Look, I love Tom King, but this was ridiculous, even if Poison Ivy was driving all of them. The Joss Whedon cut of Justice League really did Batman wrong. It showed him pretty much overwhelmed by an alien invasion. This did set up him assembling the Justice League, but in the comics, he was perfectly capable of taking the worst aliens down himself. In Grant Morrison's Justice League run, the White Martians attack and seemingly take Batman out. Only, all they really did was make him mad. When one of the White Martian HyperClan didn't show up, 3 others find him beaten up with a note that says, "I know your secret." He then tested out his theory that they had the same weakness as Martian Manhunter and lit the gasoline circle around them, trapping all 3 in a literal ring of fire. Where was that in Justice League? Now, most writers depict Batman's intelligence by either showing how cold and calculating he can be or how dark and menacing he can be. The animated Justice League Unlimited version depicted Batman's emotional intelligence instead in one of the most poignant moments. The young supervillain Ace lost control of her superpowers and started bending reality itself. Cadmus created a weapon to take Ace out, which Batman offered to use. Instead, he just walked up to the scared girl and gently talked her into undoing the damage she'd done. He then waited with her until her powers ultimately took her life. People like to point at all the punches and gadgets, but he can be just as kind when the situation calls for it. Batman Arkham Knight is definitely not the high point of Rocksteady's legendary trilogy, but it does feature one of the greatest plot lines in the series. Batman gets infected with Joker poison that is slowly turning him into the Joker. In the end, Scarecrow injects his toxin on top of this, making him confront the growing Joker personality in his mind. Joker seemingly takes over and brutalizes all of Gotham's criminals, only for Batman to finally take Joker's memory down once and for all. His mind is so strong that he's able to resist Joker and Scarecrow toxin combined. That, or he's just developed a high tolerance after so many years of fighting them. The great thing about Batman that you don't really get from most of the superheroes is just how versatile of a character he is. When he's a dark vigilante just shy of becoming the Punisher, it's great. When he's a Lego parody of himself voiced by Will Arnett, it's great. As Lego Batman will tell you, he can do anything. In his own spin-off, he takes on many of the greatest villains in popular culture. This included bad guys like Voldemort, Sauron, Daleks, Dracula, the Wicked Witch of the West, King Kong, and Godzilla. Ultimately, Batman was able to save Gotham by connecting all of the citizens of Gotham together. In the end, he even makes an alliance with the Joker that, combined with his shredded abs, manages to keep the city together. When you think of smart takes on Batman, you really don't think about Batman Forever. I mean, this is the film that features classic Batman lines like, "It's the car, right? Chicks dig the car."
It's the car, right? Chicks love the car.
That doesn't exactly make a character seem like Sherlock Holmes in a Batman mask. Still, he utilized a pretty clever method of defeating Two-Face at the end of the movie. As Harvey was flipping his coin, Batman threw a handful of coins up to make Two-Face lose his. Most of the time, Batman has to build some fancy gadgets to defeat his bad guys, but this time all he needed was one of those change machines. Sometimes, it's the simple things that Batman does that shows just how clever he is. The first time he meets Green Lantern, he teaches the intergalactic hero a lesson by sneaking the ring off of his finger while he wasn't concentrating on it. Within only a few moments of knowing Green Lantern, he was able to deduce how his powers worked and where the weaknesses were. The Green Lantern movie wasn't even able to figure that out. Batman is well known for setting genius traps that his villains fall into. It's rare that Batman manages to trap all of his greatest villains all at once. In Batman the Animated Series, this is exactly what Batman does. Joker, Two-Face, Poison Ivy, Killer Croc, and the Penguin are having a poker night where they swap stories where they almost took Batman down. Only the tables are turned when it's revealed that Killer Croc isn't actually Killer Croc at all. Batman shows his skills as a master of disguise, dropping his performance as Croc. If that's not enough, the whole thing was a sting operation with the GCPD that got all of them to confess to a ton of crimes. This is still one of Batman's finest moments. There are some things that Batman manages to pull off that I still don't know how he did it. That is especially true of the Dark Knight Rises ending. Somehow, Batman was able to fly off with a weapon capable of obliterating Gotham. We see him still in the cockpit as he takes it over the ocean. Then it explodes, seemingly taking Batman with it. Only, somehow, he was able to survive. Alfred sees Bruce in the end, revealing that he somehow escaped the disaster. I mean, Fox found out that he fixed the autopilot, but he still had to swim to safety before the explosion. Oh, I know! He must have had a refrigerator to hide in, like Indiana Jones! Everyone knows that explosions can't go through refrigerators, right? As often as Poison Ivy takes over Superman, it's surprising that she ever uses a different evil plan. In Batman Hush, he manages to save Superman from Poison Ivy's thrall by using a pretty extreme method to snap him out of it. He throws Lois Lane off of a building, knowing that his love for her would be enough to break him out of it. This showcased how much he knew Clark, that even mind control wouldn't be enough to override his urge to save Lois from danger. I mean, he's lucky that it worked. Imagine if that was just a theory Batman had and it didn't work out. Do you want an Injustice Gods Among Us, Batman? Because that's how you get an Injustice Gods Among Us. Weirdly enough, one of the smartest versions of Batman may be the one we've never seen. In the Arrowverse, it's established early on that Oliver Queen is the first vigilante superhero. Only, it turns out, that's not actually true. It's revealed when Batwoman makes her first appearance that Batman was telling people how much they failed their city long before Ollie got his green hoodie. This means that somehow Batman was able to conceal his presence in Gotham even if he was fighting the Joker in big showdowns. Of course, that also means that he's a real jerk for sitting out all those crossovers and world-ending events. I mean, you couldn't have helped out even a little with those Dominators, Bruce? So, if Batman can do all of that, it's clear that he can pretty much beat anyone if he really puts his mind to it. You know who he can't take down? Us. Bring it on, Batman, you fictional idiot! You can't take down CBR! We're unbeatable! Nope. Sorry, I would like to formally apologize. You take it back, you win. We'll rename the channel BBR now, Batman Book Resources. Please, don't beat me up.